How are life insurance professionals supposed to determine the financial health of life insurance carriers? This week in life insurance, we want to talk about what we think is a pretty important issue that isn't really being discussed in the industry as much as it should. And we know it's important because we saw what happened with Phoenix Home Life and how making the wrong choice of carrier could have a really negative impact on policyholders. Now, in the past, this was a pretty easy process. A broker and agent could look at the AM Best rating, figure out the surplus. There's a couple of key indicators that would determine whether or not a life insurance carrier was financially healthy. However, that's become a little more complicated as the carrier landscape has become a little more complicated. We now have, for the first time, a majority of reinsurance being ceded offshore rather than onshore. And that makes understanding the true liabilities of the carriers a little harder because it's a little more opaque when it goes offshore. We also know that life insurance carriers are the largest holders of private credit out there. And a lot of that private credit is actually being issued by affiliated parties. And with some of the skirmish or the squeamishness in the private credit market, that's a flashing yellow light for the industry as well. And then we see things like what came out this week about security benefit, where a carrier has made half of all the collateral loans in the industry, and almost all of those loans are to entities affiliated with the owner of the carrier itself. So what's a producer supposed to do? Because this is going to require a lot of detective work. You're going to have to start looking at public filings. This is not as easy as it used to be. Now, I would say that this is a great role for both industry organizations and the producer groups and BGAs. However, neither of those entities or those groups of entities are really stepping up. The kind of main organization for life insurance professionals, the professional security, financial security professionals, has a new chairperson who is from a carrier. And the producer groups and BGAs, they have their own financial incentives to not really rock the boat or upset certain carriers. And so the broker producers really left on its own to construct whether or not a life insurance carrier is as healthy as it appears to do best by its policyholders. And that's a really tough situation. That's all for this week. We'll talk to you soon.